Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest today is Ramona Olive. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Inclined elders, aging with an attitude of incline. And you know, we're all going to get old if we're lucky. If we're lucky, we're going to age. It is a gift of wisdom and knowledge and believing that we've actually done something with our lives. It's in a mindset, not of decline or over the hill. It's a mindset of continuous incline, rising up. There's always a lovely mountain to climb and see what's on the other side. She likes to make a difference in the lives of others by serving as an advocate for positive aging. Choice matters, commit to the meaningful and purposeful life of incline and believe that a new stage, one of steady decline is inevitable instead of one of decline is inevitable. To choose to live her life differently from society's negative connotation, and that aging isn't about decline or over the hill. She is more enthusiastic about life, and she wants to share her journey of purpose and inspiration that has given her life a continuous incline and focusing on the positive attitude mindset and to believe that things are possible. And boy, do we need that right now. She's written a wonderful book, Inclined Elders, and we're going to be talking all about that today. And you know, folks, your age is a number. It's also the experience that you've had in life. But that doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean that now you sit on the rocking chair and just knit for the rest of your life. Life is about living, about sharing, about doing, and just living in wonderment of what else is there to explore. Welcome to the show, Ramona.
Well, thank you for inviting me as a guest, Sarah. I'm thrilled to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Age, a lot of people are afraid of it, aren't they? You know, oh, when I get older, everything is going to decline. The body, the mind, the spirit, almost put out to pasture. Whereas it is quite the opposite. Yes, we may not be able to physically do what we did before, but there's a sense of freedom and liberation to aging that allows us to see things differently and go after things differently and seek a passion that maybe we just couldn't do before.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I really, in looking back on my life and realizing that we literally start aging from the day that we're born. Mm-hmm. So it's just, you know, something we have to accept each day we get older. But I think we need to embrace it and really look at it in the meaningful and purposeful way that it can be. A very dear friend of mine who's now 96, she told me several years ago, she said, Ramona, when you share your age with people, precede it with JUST. So at this point, I'm just 72, mm-hmm. and I'm very proud of it, and mm-hmm. looking forward to moving into my 80s and 90s and possibly 100. Mm-hmm. We're all living longer these days. 20 to 30 years has been added on to our lifespan. And I think we really need to take stock as to how we're going to live that life. As you indicated earlier, my philosophy really is to continue to live a life of incline, mm-hmm. And not accept society's negative connotation. It's all a decline and over the hill. And that's what really led me to the title of the book, because I was becoming so incensed and looking around and seeing people that were my age and even younger that had bought into all this aging process and decline. And so it just came to me in a moment that, well, why don't we flip that around and use the term incline? Mm-hmm. And I think it makes perfect sense, because from that, it just leads you into continuing to climb mountains and continuing to live a full and active life.
And if you look at it, we get over many hills in our time. You know, we're over one hill, but now there's another one in front of us. You know, that isn't a connotation of decline. That means that we've already climbed that mountain. We're over that mountain. But there's another one where a lovely valley to explore below, and it's this is again that, well, you've done it, now leave it up to the young, you don't need to worry yourselves about it anymore, just sit back and enjoy your retirement or your old age. And it's like, no, this is the time to get up and go and do all the things that you wanted to do, obviously within the parameters of your physicality. But there's a different zest, isn't there? I'm 66, I'll be 67 in October. I think age is most certainly a gift. I've lost too many people too young in life. And I think it's absolutely wonderful to get up every day and go, what is in store for me today? Have a meaningful purpose.
Yes, and if we have that, I call it zest for life, then isn't that a way that we can be much happier individuals?
Yes.
I think the buying into this, while you're retired now, just sit and do nothing or play golf, I think that's giving up in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think too, and I allude to this in my book, that I really see that a lot of people don't have the courage to really continue to live a meaningful and purposeful life on the basis of what I call the 3 calamitous C's.
Mm-hmm.
And those 3 C's are complacency, which is really the fear of change, conventionality, which is really being bound by rules, and compliance, which is just buying into others' demands and what they're dictating. And I think if we flip that around, how can people not be sucked into those 3 calamitous C's, is to embrace the 3 constructive C's. And to me, those are change. So embracing change in your life, as we've just been speaking about, and look at life with a sense of curiosity, and combining those 2 will give one the courage to continue to live a life of incline.
Exactly. I love those 3 C's. And we never know how courageous we are until we look back at what we've just overcome. And, we look back and go, my God, I didn't know I had the strength to do that. I didn't know I had the tenacity to do that. Look what I got through. Well, if I can get through that, I can face anything.
Exactly.
And seize the day.
Yes. And a lot of times it's just taking baby steps and doing something that's different. I mean, maybe you have a sense of inspiration or curiosity for something, and something new, be it a hobby or just trying something different. And from that, you realize that, wow, well, I've been able to overcome that little hurdle. Maybe I can do something a little bit more challenging. And there's such a sense of reward that's realized in doing something a little different. I've known so many people that have embarked on new adventures as they age. I myself have reinvented myself many times over throughout my career. And a lot of people, as they're getting older, do that to a large degree. One of my friends, who's an inclined elder in the book, was an executive for a healthcare company, a very lofty executive position. And when he retired, he decided to embrace an interest and a passion he'd had as a child, and that was a curiosity for magic. So he has literally, now he's doing his magic act in front of corporate groups, family groups, children's groups, and he's having a ball. So here's something that he took a passion from his younger days and turned that into something totally different, that now is his life, his career, in addition to all the other things that he's doing.
That is actually a very common trend I actually see with the people I've interviewed. They've gone about the expectation, the conditioning of you must go to college, get a degree, get a good job, get, the husband, the 2.2 kids, the picket fence and all of that. And they've gone and done all of that. And they've been highly successful and gone, but there's something missing. I'm just simply not happy. I mean, I should be happy. I have this and I have that, but I just don't feel there's any purpose in me. And they've literally walked away from the 6 figures, from the success, from all of that, and gone to something that they loved doing or were extremely interested in childhood. And it's come and tapped them on the shoulder, and they've gone down that avenue and say, I've never been more abundant. I've never been more enriched. I've never had so much zest to get up every day and do what I'm doing as what I'm doing now, which I think is a lesson for everybody. Is that if you were given a gift when you're young and that gift is obvious, follow the gift. Learn what you can about that gift and how to use that instrument and find the orchestra to play it in. Don't go down that road of complacency or compliance of control, and do the, well, I should, right? Go and do what you
Yes,
love, because
yes.
when you do what you love, you do so much better.
Exactly. And I think that is totally an example of the fact that historically we have lived a life in stages where, as you say, you get your education, you then work and have your family, and then it's retirement. And then what do you do with yourself? And now there's more of a trend because our lifespan has increased so much that there's more of an approach to a life course where it's not as rigid and static as life stages, where you've gone through this one, then the next, then the next, and there's no going back. Whereas with a life course philosophy, it's more resilient, it's fluid. And for example, I went back to school as an adult in my 50s. That certainly didn't follow the pattern. And more adults are doing that, even this lifelong learning or courses. So you can be more resilient and change the path rather than the static life stages. And I think that's very much what adults of our genre are embracing these days, if they're still living an active life.
Yes. And let's look at there's many people, including myself, that has some physical challenges. I have nowhere near the same physicality that I did even 20 years ago. But that doesn't mean you go, okay, well, I can't do anything. You go and do, well, what can I do that doesn't rely on the physical? And there is always something you can do. There's always something that can get you up in the morning, that gives you that meaningful purpose, that overrides your challenge and gives you that reason to get up and go. If we stop and just go, oh no, I've got this, that's my excuse, I just can't do anything because, and that's down the rabbit hole as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, yes. And that's an expression that I tend to embrace as well, because I think it's disastrous when you allow yourself to be sucked in down that rabbit hole. Now, as an example, and I think true as you're saying, that we still experience some physicality challenges, but there's still the ability to make modifications. And as an example of that, my brother, who has always been a very avid outdoorsman, his philosophy, when I interviewed him, he said, oh, well, I just tune out all the negativity and I don't let the old man in.
I like that, yeah.
Yes, that actually came about from a conversation with what's his name, Clint Eastwood, and it's been used. But my brother thought, yeah, this is for me too. But he used to be an avid outdoorsman, climb mountains, and now he's hiking around them.
Right.
So he's made those modifications, and I think anybody can apply that in their last lifestyle. They can still enjoy the things they did when they were younger by making modifications in whatever form that takes.
When you are younger, everything is about fifth gear, isn't it? It's like, oh, I want to do it, let's do it. And off you go. And you've got the energy and the enthusiasm and the tenacity to fall and get back up and go at it again. And, as you get older, you realize, well, maybe that's a bit futile. Maybe I'm going to actually use my energy a little slower, enjoy going through all of the gears. I really enjoy the countryside instead of the highway. We change our priorities of what's important. And I have found most certainly in the slowing down, physically, I have taken on so much more of what this planet has to give, of what life really is, the jubilance of it, because I've slowed down enough to see it. And when we're young, we're constantly, rushing and chasing after something that we kind of miss that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's almost that we're moving so fast that life is a blur.
Yeah.
There was a book that was recommended to me very, very many years ago, because I'm very active and energetic and lived very in the fast lane. And this friend said, there's a book that's called Slowing Down to the Speed of Life. And I love that, because that's exactly what we're saying, is just slow down. The old expression, smell the roses, they smell the coffee. But if you do that, you're able to take in more, your vision expands, and there's a very heightened sense of enjoyment and happiness that's derived from that, most definitely.
Yes. And I feel that in a lot of ways, there's a lot more accomplishment, because you actually have time to enjoy the accomplishment, before the pressures of, I'm competitive, I've got to be, this isn't enough, I've got to go and do more, and we find an awful lot of enoughs. No, this is enough, I'm enjoying this, I don't need more of that.
Yes. It's also interesting, the observation I've made with so many of the elders, the Incline elders that I spoke to for the book, and there were over 50 of them, men and women ranging in age from 40 to 100. And one of my heroes is Herb, who at the time that I interviewed him, he shared with me the story that at 94, he was 99 then, that he and his wife had moved to an independent living facility to be closer to the children here in Austin. And the first night, as they were going into the dining room, he looked around and he said to his wife, "Oh my goodness, they're all so old." And so to me, that shows that he has this positive mindset and attitude to aging. And I actually created a little rhyme to go along with that, based on his comment. And the rhyme is, I look in the mirror and who do I see? It's my younger self looking back at me. Society may dictate a time of decline, but I follow my soul and choose to incline.
Perfect. Perfect. You know, and it's people like that that will have the chutzpah to get everybody up and dance. You're right. You know, sometimes you just need that somebody with that energy and that zest for life. Hey guys,
Yes.
come on, get out of those chairs. Let's have music session. Let's have this. Let's have that. And sometimes they just need a reminder. You're still living.
Yes, yes. And that takes me to another segment of the book, which is the power of play. As I was doing my research, I came across a book. It was introduced to me by my Nia dance teacher, by a psychologist by the name of Stuart Brown, and it's called Play. And then there's a subtitle, but his premise was that we need play in our lives, especially as we're aging. And really, if you listen to all of the comments as we're aging, oh, you're an adult now, just act your age, or that's silly if you want to get up everybody up and dance. Well, why not? And having a playful attitude. Beg your pardon?
Who dictated that?
Yes, yeah. And so embracing your inner child is the way that somebody else expressed it, and to continue to live a fun life. There's actually, I'm sure you've heard of the in Japan, the island of Okinawa, where the older people there, and they live to be over 100. Mm-hmm. And part of their lifestyle is not only nutritious food and exercise, but playing with children. It's part of their lifestyle, and that keeps them young. So it's that playful feeling that just is invigorating.
Well, when we look at children, play is essential into their brain activity and working out equations and learning to interact. And it's like, as we get older, we know that a great deal of, dementia, Alzheimer's can come on so early. And we're seeing it so early in so many people nowadays. And that is because of the lack of learning new things, or the lack of being engaged. And my ex-mother-in-law lived into her late 80s, and she was a mahjong player. So constantly playing mahjong. I live with an 88-year-old. She's 88 this coming month. And she does mahjong on the computer. She does solitaire, and she does 1,000-piece puzzles. And she is so engrossed with it. She has a system for it, and it keeps her engaged. Plus, she has a childlike exuberance for life. We're going back to Montreal, her hometown, in September. I've never been, so it's going to be wonderful to see it through her eyes. And every day it's, oh, I can't believe we're doing it. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you that. And it's intoxicating. That's who she is in life. She's never lost that joy. And I think that's a huge word that seems to go out the window for a lot of people of a certain age. Oh, there's nothing to be joyous about. There is so much to be joyous about. You've just got to participate.
It's taking responsibility for your own joy, really.
Yeah.
Another comment that my friend Lee, who's 96 now, made to me is that she's always kept that inner child alive growing up. And as an adult, so many times she would have to go say, oh, for heaven's sakes, Lee, why don't you just grow up and act your age? And then she adds, well, I'm now 96, and most of those people are dead. So
yeah, she has a point.
Says it all, really.
What age am I meant to do? Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that I call the walking dead. Whatever age, they've just given up on life, and they're just going through the drolls of life, and they're not really participating. They're not really contributing. They're just, living blind. They've given up. And I just find that so sad.
It is. It is.
The gift of age is the wisdom. And I'm not talking about the knowledge. It's the wisdom to know actually how to use the knowledge, when to use the knowledge, in what way, to be more discerning, and to be more wondrous in our
Yeah.
lives of what else is out there.
I totally agree, because otherwise you're just you've given up and you're just biding your time, watching the clock until it's over. And what a sad way to live your life. Commenting again on the curiosity aspect that is so valuable in our lives. To me, curiosity begets creativity, because
Yes.
when you become interested in something, you then want to continue and explore, and you can become very creative in many, many ways. And I think that's just lovely. And again, that enhances your life.
Yeah, it's being engaged in it, isn't it? If you stop the wonderment of life, what is possible, what is out there. If you're not willing to learn something new every day, then we're going to let the gray cells become white cells and disappear altogether. So I've interviewed a couple of women, which I'm sorry I haven't sent you their links yet. With the heat that we've had in this office, it's been very hard to function. Even my computer slowed down because it was so hot. There's a couple of women that I just love them. The chutzpah, the joy of life. Esther Schifrin, who's 82. She, at the age of 6, she was in a Japanese internment camp. I mean, she's been through the gamut in life, but she's a concert pianist, she's an artist, she's a writer, and every single day of COVID, she's written a rhyme. And then very often she would just post a video of her dancing, her doing something. She's just got such joy of life. And then we have the Pink Lady, who is now 89. I think a couple of years ago took on a new lover, has her own TV show. And everything about her is just chutzpah and darling. And of course I had the two of them on together, which was just a gas. But they are such reminders. Life isn't over until it's over, that there's always something to do and to be a part of.
Exactly. Another great story with Lee that I'll share, because I think this is so relevant when we talk about you're never too old to make changes in your life. She's a Texas gal, and she went to college. She wanted to be a designer. And she found when she was in the class that it took her ages to complete the various tasks, whereas some of her classmates were finishing them up very quickly. So she made the deduction that, well, I guess she wasn't any good at it. And so she decided just to get a degree and then go work as a secretary, which back in that day was something that you sort of fell into. Well, she continued and she was successful at that. And then one day in her 50s, she was with a group of people and she overheard somebody talking about Beethoven and the fact that he had rewritten one of his symphonies. I think it was 38 times, actually, all of them. He rewrote many times. And she just had this light bulb moment that, oh my goodness, I thought he was a genius. And here he is, and he has to rewrite and redo his work, and it takes time. And she came to the realization that you're not instantly a genius. You have to apply yourself to it. And so she decided that she wanted to become a speaker, a public speaker. And so she took a lot of training, and eventually a few years later, she became an internationally recognized motivational speaker. So what she termed this epiphany as was she turned her thinking upside down. Here she'd been living her life thinking, oh, I'm no good, I can't do this or that, to the realization that you work hard at something and you can make changes in your life. So that's one of my favorite stories, just turning your thinking upside down. You could apply that to any age.
Any age. We moved to South Africa when I was 14, and my mum was I think 49 or something. And I was coming home from school one day, and I'm seeing this motorcycle with this woman with long hair kind of stop outside my house. Obviously somebody else riding it. And I thought, who the hell is that? And I go up there, and it's my mother wearing a wig, who's, she's now 50, and she's the back of this motorcycle. And my mother was pearls and tweed in England, completely charity work, just completely pearls and tweed, never drank, and very submissive actually. And here is this woman who I didn't recognize because South Africa opened her up, and I saw this woman that had a joy of life. And
awesome.
she immersed herself into it, and just it was wonderful to see. But it was also permission for me to be, because
Yes.
I'd grown up in England in the restrictiveness as well, on boarding schools, and um, a sickly child. So there was always the limitations put on me that, oh, you never could do this and you could never do that. And here we're in South Africa, where it was just a clear new canvas that we could paint and explore. And it was just wonderful to see that.
So
Unfortunately, she moved back to England, and then went to stay with my sister, who kind of put her to bed, and had 5 years in bed until she died, which is,
oh dear.
yeah.
So I would deduce then that being in a much more liberal environment, she really embraced that, and that's set her free to
Yes.
to discard the tweed and the pearls and
Yes.
let her hair down.
That's literally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it was wonderful to see. And she and I would take holidays together, and and constantly be invited out for dinner with people, and parties, and we'd throw parties together, because South Africa, bright places, and music and dance, and she was a really good cook. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful way to live for a number of years, and it gave me the zest and the permission to go and seek life. And then I went traveling and exploring new countries, and that's how I ended up here in Canada. So we're an example to other people. And I remember meeting someone when I was 15, and she was 66, and she had talked about the country she had lived in. And I remember saying right then, and I said it to her, I want to live in several countries. She had planted that seed in me, and I have. I've lived in several countries, and I'm so glad I did, because there's always so much to learn from it. So if we could look at our wonderful women of wisdom, or men, and look at all that they have to share and teach us, it could help anybody at any age open up a door of wonderment and exploration, and find a different path.
I totally agree. And that really falls in line with one of the chapters of my book, which I call Leave a Legacy and Live It Now.
Yeah.
And in essence, I'm alluding to the same thing, that we as elders can serve as role models for future generations, to show them that we can still continue to live active, full lives. And so for them, for the younger generation, dispel all that doom and gloom that aging is just all about decline. And to really prove my point, or my hypothesis, I interviewed several younger adults in their 20s and 30s to discuss their relationship with older adults and what impact it had had on their life, if any. And invariably, everyone that had older role models felt totally comfortable about aging and were excited about the prospect. And I think therein lies the example that your mother set for you as the role model, so that you could live a freer life. So I think that's extremely important, because in our lives, I know for so many years, it was almost siloed living, where as soon as you got to a certain age, you were put out to the retirement home, or the old folks home, as we called it when I was younger, and younger people were over here, and everybody was in different boxes. And now we're realizing that to have that crossover and the intergenerational is much healthier for people, young and old, because it's a win-win for younger people and older people to have that joining of the personalities and the ages, and gaining that wisdom of the elders. And yet we can also look on the flip side with older people who may not be as technologically savvy. They can gain from the wisdom of the younger generation. So
yeah, I mean, that's how it's meant to be. I mean, you look at some of the movie stars, Helen Mirren, she's going to be in the new Fast and Furious F9, and wrinkles and all, she doesn't care, right? She just brings a zest of life. She's got 3 productions going on right now, and I think she's in her 80s, and there's just something about it. It's like you can see, I enjoy life, and I have no apology of it. And Judi Dench and Maggie Smith and a few others, and it's like, it wasn't so long ago that you reach 30 and a woman would be put out to pasture, because now you're too old to be on TV now.
Right.
Unless you're playing an old person. And that reflection is changing. So our younger people, I mean, I don't know if you remember the Golden Girls.
Oh, yes.
I absolutely loved the Golden Girls. I thought and I really kind of felt moored you know, and she wasn't Maud in that, but she was Maud in the TV show beforehand.
Yeah, B.
The
Arthur.
Arthur.
B. Arthur.
You know,
Yes.
she had my kind of sense of humor. I just absolutely loved her. And of course,
Yeah.
Betty White, what an example.
Oh, she's
You
an
know,
amazing woman. She's in her 90s now, I think. Yeah,
99, I think.
that really set a tone because that was decades ago.
Mm,
And those were three feisty women that were older, inclined elders and living
yes,
life through the way that they wanted to live it,
yes.
which was fabulous. And especially the mother, it was B. Arthur's mother, the older one, that was such a spunky individual as well. It was a fun show. There's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think the more we show that to people that getting older, there's something wrong with it. You know, like Judi Dench did the wonderful movie Marigold Hotel.
Yes,
You know,
that
due
was
to
excellent.
financial circumstances, had to go over there, and everybody there was there because of basically financial circumstances, and how it completely changed their lives. And I think
Yes.
there lies the willingness to step out of your comfort zone. And you're well uncomfortable, you know, it's okay. If you're just comfortable and it's okay, you're not living. You're not
Yeah,
living.
that's true. And those folks are embracing those three calamitous
Mm,
seas again. Really,
absolutely.
they're just okay. It is what it is, and this is the way it's always been. Okay, I'll buy into it as well. But they need to be prodded to
Mm,
embrace the three constructive C's: the change,
yes.
the curiosity, and the courage.
But do you find that some people are put off because, yes, it requires you to participate, to get up and do something. And some people have just, you know, if it's done for them, maybe, but they just don't want to do it
Yeah.
themselves.
And I think there is a group of people that there's no matter how much you urge, prod, nudge, are going to change their mind.
Yeah.
They're just set in stone. I think it's the next group of those people. Well, they've sort of bought into it, but they realize that it could be better. And what can they do to make it better? It's those ones who really will move when you give them that little nudge and push, but they do need some support. And a lot of the things that I've included in my book are resources of things that will help people to get over that hump. So, and then there's those of us that we're already there. We're inclined elders, and we've been embracing it for years. So.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, as I said, I've had a lot of death around me. So, you know, every birthday is celebrated because it's a gift of another year. But the onus is what you're going to do with that year.
Yes.
And, you know, for me, I've been doing this 9 years now, and it is my reason to get up every day and meet fantastic people. And as ordinary people doing extraordinary things, you know, because they chose to, or because life tapped them on the shoulder, or maybe they have the cosmic 2x4. But what they realized, you know, life bottomed them out, and they had to climb back up, go through the process and find that meaningful purpose and become. And every single one of them has said to me, it doesn't matter how catastrophic that experience was, I'd go through it again to be where I am now.
Right. I like that expression that you use, the ordinary people that do extraordinary things. And I think that's so true, because when I was considering what group I was going to interview for the book, and it wasn't going to be those that were movie stars, politicians, or in the limelight, they were exactly what you would consider ordinary people, but to me they were extraordinary because they had accomplished something, and sometimes without even thinking about it, but they just had the drive to do it, or they knew they had to do something. One young girl, and I say young because she's still in her 50s, but she'd always had a fear of getting up in front of a group of people, public speaking of any sort. It just shrank her, and that's true of a lot of people. And so what she did, she decided to overcome that, she would take a stand-up comedy class. And she did that. And she said it was the most freeing, liberating thing she'd ever done, because it gave her the ability to just be herself and let it out there. And it was just totally freeing. And that really helped her overcome her fear of public speaking. So it's been fun to speak with people to see what their special little nugget is, because as I was speaking with people, my self would light up. I'd have my aha moment of thinking, oh wow, I can plug that in here, I can plug that in there. And it was lovely, because everybody has a story. You just have to be able to pull it out of them.
And the very often those people with those extraordinary stories, just, you know, I'm just an ordinary bloke or an ordinary woman, you know, it's like no big deal, and they don't realize what a big deal their story is, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
We've got a 102-year-old here in Victoria that last year during COVID at 101, he would walk so many laps a day around the courtyard to raise money for children at risk. And he started it again this year, and actually yesterday, which was the hottest day on record for us. He's out there, took off his jacket. He said, "Excuse me, I have to take my jacket off," and did his laps. And he's doing 5 laps every single day. And there was that guy in England that was walking a mile a day, and he was in his hundreds as well. And they are such a wonderful example to people. Is that okay? He's in a retirement home. He has a walker. He's limited, but his sense of purpose is still there. And I think if you lose that sense of purpose, what have you got to live for? Purpose is something that drives us forward.
That's one of the most important things I found when I was interviewing these folks, that they really had a positive attitude about aging, but they had a strong sense of purpose in their lives. And they realized that they needed to have that purpose in order to sustain themselves.
Yes.
One of the resources I use in the book is a Japanese process called ikigai, and it literally means in Japanese, my reason for getting up every morning. And so that's the purpose factor. But people, in addition to, and another huge piece is that you need to have a sense of community and connections with people, but you need that meaning and purpose in your life. And the way that I describe it is that purpose can be little p or big P. In other words, big P, it can be a huge project you're working on, or a career that you came from or are moving into, or it can be a little p. It can be a passion hobby that you have. It can be looking after your grandchildren. It can be volunteering and serving others. So it has to have meaning for you to really be effective as a purpose.
That's reminded me of we used to live literally opposite a Catholic church, and there was a wonderful little old lady, completely bent. She had osteoporosis, completely bent, would be there every single day to clear out the candles and redo the candles. And my little daughter, who's now just had a baby, so she's mama, but at that time she was around 3, and she would take her baby stroller over there with her doll in it, and she went through a phase of funny hats and everything else. And she'd stop and talk to this little old lady, and I just left them to it. And they would talk for ages. God knows what they were saying, but they were having such a conversation, and it meant so much to the woman and to my daughter. And I've been very, very lucky that my kids have never looked at people of age as decliners. They take everybody at their heart and soul value, right? And it was just so wonderful to see, and I asked one day, what's my daughter saying? Oh, we're just talking about life. And, she's a 3-year-old, and, this who is in her 90s, but it was just so wonderful and warming to see. And, there has been a phase for a number of years of that when people reach to a certain age, they're considered useless and they're being selfish for living longer, and they should give it up for the younger people. And I don't know who started that. But no, we have every right to be here. We've earned it. Every gray hair is an experience. We've earned our right to be here. And it should be more the younger people wanting to know our stories, wanting to know how we got here, what we went through, because I think it teaches them appreciation. And
yes,
judgment.
It does, and it follows through again with what we've just been speaking about, which is the leaving a legacy and living it now and serving as a role model. So in your particular case, there was your mother who served as a role model for you. You served as a role model for your children, and they have gained from that because they respect their elders totally. I think too that in looking at society in general, and I really feel that it's more the Western culture, society, that we have such a youth-centric society that really the media and society in general has created, and it's just so wrong, and that's contributed and created this stereotypical ageism that's going on. But there's so many people that are moving towards wanting to negate that, and again embracing older people and the wisdom that they bring, rather than putting in that box, and it's time that you were put out to pasture and sit on the front porch and rock in your chair. That's going away slowly but surely. It's going away.
We see so much in other countries where the elders are revered. They've paved the way for others. It is now their time for others to do for them. And they go to them for the wisdom. They go to them for that knowledge and just to have deep conversations. And there's respect for the elders
Yes.
and all that they've done. And I feel, I think it must be through the media that we are seeing this reflection. Do you remember the movie Logan's Run?
Yes.
Everybody at the age of 21 had to go and die.
Yes.
So, all right. And it's like, what do we know at 21? We look back on it. I think one of the examples we could be to our own generation is to say it ain't over until it's over. And, as my pink lady said, she would say, you've got to get up and get out and get going. Right?
Yes. Lee says something similar. Get up, get dressed, and get going.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing, exactly. I think too that in looking at the whole stereotypical thing, that we've sort of bought into that over the years, where we've accepted the fact that you can laugh at people aging, the birthday cards of people old and decrepit, and why even go that way when you know that we're, most of us anyways, that want to embrace that more inclined lifestyle are living healthier, more positive lives. Yeah. I think too, in looking at the media and society in general, that's historically have promoted a youth-centric culture, because that's where the marketing people, especially, that's where the money is. But it's been proven and shown statistically that older people in their 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond, there's a huge wealth there.
Yes.
That should be tapped into in the way of marketing. And there's a lot of organizations now that are creating different mechanisms to be able to promote within that age group.
Mm-hmm. And, let's face it, as you get older, you've lost family members, or your kids are grown up, and you may find yourself on your own. And there's nothing worse than, being lonely and neglected. It's soul killing. And for some people, financially, maybe they can't afford to go out, or they don't have the wheels, or this or that. And it's like, as younger people, we should turn around and go, can I take you out for lunch, or to the library every week, or shopping? It's just give them a reason to have something to look forward to, because otherwise they are living a living death. And it's not because they want to, it's just because of their means that they can't. And we could turn around. I do this every year with Christmas. Please do not forget the lonely person that lives on your floor. Invite them in, or for a drink, or drops a gift off to them. Remember them, because isn't it the worst of, like, nobody knows who you are and nobody cares?
Yes. And it gets to the point in that sort of situation that older people become invisible, that nobody really sees them at all. And I think that's so sad. I love your idea of reaching out. I know there are so many different community groups that really support people. One group that I included in the book is called WellMed Senior Center, and I interviewed a lot of the people there. And when I walked in, this is of course pre-COVID, but it was, you could feel the energy in the room, people playing ping pong, people dancing, people talking. And in interviewing several of the people, it really gave them the sense of community that they needed to have these relationships. Now, not everyone wants to do that or has the ability to put themselves out, but if you can get people within that sort of a scenario, it's very helpful. Now, of course, the place was shut down during the pandemic, so that returned things to normal. But I love your idea of just reaching out to somebody that that is living on their own, and just treating them and bring some joy into their lives.
I mean, how about the person in their 80s that lives, in an apartment or down for you, or a house down the road from you, and you've got kids, and say, would you mind coming over and doing story time for my kids? Right? It's giving them a reason to come over. They come over and they sit and read a book, and hey, how about staying for dinner? Right? And it's like, we can adopt a granny or a grandpa, all right? And it's, and give them a reason to look forward to tomorrow. And what they're teaching the children at that time, in respect, in value, and in wonderment with their stories. I mean, we've lost that art, because marketing has a lot to answer for, it really does. But we've also got to remember, we support the marketing with our purchase. So if we stop buying it, they're going to stop selling it. They're going to go on to a different market.
I think I think that over the years, it's also been several organizations that you say adopt a grandparent, and there are
Mm,
several of that ilk here in the Austin area. There's also a new program that was brought together by a University of Texas graduate. This was last year when the pandemic started. And he created this online program where he brought together younger people and older people and created these relationships. And he eventually became so popular because, of course, everything was shut down as far as
yeah.
being together in person, that it became global. And he
Mm-hmm.
now has this wonderful program in bringing people together. And there's a lot of different organizations and programs like that.
Yeah. And the thing about Zoom, what the pandemic has done, I mean, it's just been a godsend of a tool. A secondhand computer could be handed down to someone, set them up on Zoom, and and then they can communicate with people elsewhere.
Exactly.
If they
Yes.
can't do it physically, they can't get out, at least they're having a connection. Because
Yes.
I think the decline comes from disconnect.
Yes, that's very true. There was an interesting work done that something by a Dr. Vallant who worked with this Harvard study. It's been around for, well, I think since the 40s or 50s, where they interviewed, it was all men at that point, over decades and decades and decades to try and identify what the happiness factor in life was, what really made these people tick and brought joy to their lives. And invariably, after decades of doing this study, the one bottom line item was relationships with people. That is so important to people's mental well-being,
Yes.
really.
Yes. And of course, with this pandemic, and this is something we've talked about a great deal on the air here, is not only was it the pivoting of your business, but the pivoting of how you communicate with people, but it's also making sure that now as we come out, a lot of people are still feeling vulnerable. The news, oh, there's a new variant, or there's a new migrant, there's a new this, there's a new that.
Yes.
And it's like they're kind of scared to come out because, they don't know, is it safe now? And we need to, create some safe places for people. And it's not just people that are elderly. There's a lot of young people that are feeling the same. And it's like, this is the time that we need to bring the invitation out and create a safe space for people and just say, let people know. Because I say the next pandemic is the post-traumatic stress as well as the economic one of post-pandemic. And that means we need to all step up there and care a little bit more and be there for each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also agree with I'm a member of various community groups that's obviously been online for quite a while. And you're right, it wasn't just older people that were, I use the term hibernating or sheltering in place. It was younger people as well. And, I looked at it that I was continuing to live my life as best I could, respecting the social responsibility of wearing a mask and social distancing when required, but still going out and doing what I needed to do. Whereas so many people I saw, they wouldn't step out the door, their groceries were delivered. They went through all of that. And yet, I said, you have to respect people for where they are, for the reasons that they're making this. They could have had loved ones that were very ill and they didn't want to put them at risk by going out. So you have to embrace that. But now we're at a point where having the 2 vaccinations and things changing, and that certainly has been the biggest factor, that you're able to step out. And yet so many people are reluctant because, again, they've been bound up, sheltering in place for so long. They're reluctant to go out for any other things that may be happening outside. But we have to support each other, and in whatever way we can do that, be it going over and being with them, bringing them to places, and just having that sense of community and supporting each other. I mean, support is such a huge thing. You have to look out for yourself, but you have to look out for others as well. We're a society. We need to help other people as well.
Yeah, I'm always referring to us as a village, and everybody in the village is important. And, when times are bad, people are there. Times are good, people are there. And if the village is only as strong as everybody's contribution. And if we look at our community as our village, and, we've got to be there for each other. For so many years, it's about me, myself, and I. As long as I'm okay, it's all right, Jack. And, I used to have a business called The Importance of You, which is not about self-importance. It is important that you fill yourself up with self-love, with an exuberance of life, with a meaningful purpose, and let your cup runneth over. Come from the heart. Let people feel that essence. And then you can really share that love out. That's the kind of importance of you. The self-importance is using everybody else to make you feel better. And we've had too much of that for too long.
I
And I
agree.
think one of the pandemic things has taught us is that we are only as strong as we are together, and that we need to respect each other's contribution and and be there for one another, because it's
Yes.
not about me, myself, and I. And you know, who to teach us better but the elders, because they've certainly in their lives have gone through that.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree, for decades it was the me
Yeah,
generation, where it was just all about you, and being so uh, really self-centered.
yeah.
And it's times of challenge, and we've certainly been through that, that you really realize that you need other people and they need you, and it's reciprocal. And I love your analogy of the village, because that it is so true indeed. We went through a horrendous storm here earlier this year in February, which shut down the city almost. We had rolling uh, energy waves, so rolling power waves, where it would be on for maybe half an hour, then off for two, because the circuits were overloaded. We had below freezing temperatures for almost a week, where some people had no power at all, some had no water because their pipes were frozen.
Right.
And it really, again, showed that you need that community. I'm in a gated community, and we just came together, which we always do, and even reached out to other people to support them. I know so many people that were with no water and no heat for days at a time, and we'd reach out to them. And one of the funny aspects, because you have to keep your sense of humor in times like this, people knowing that I was originally raised from Canada, raised in Canada, said, "Oh, you must be used to this whole thing of
Yeah.
power outages." And I said, "No, this is my first one."
Yeah.
That I've never experienced it before, because we just didn't have that kind of weather in
Yeah.
Vancouver. And obviously pipes are much lower down in the ground, where they aren't here, and we're used to higher temperatures. But it was another one of those experiences where, yeah, I needed somebody to check out my pipes. And fortunately, I had a sense of community, and you know, it just reinforces that. And it gives me such a great feeling to be able to extend and take a dinner to somebody. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can do that. So it's
I
it's
mean,
important.
the neighborly thing, knock on the door. Are you okay? Is there
Yeah.
anything you need help with? And of course, you know, a lot of the elderly, no, I'm fine, you know, because there's that sense of pride or whatever, or they don't want to
Right.
bother with anyone. You know what? I'd
Exactly.
like to check things out. Do you mind? You know,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
of course, there is the distrust, you know, who are you? So, you know, you need to know, I live over there, you see me walking, da 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 da. And it is, the more you know who your neighbors are, the less scared they're going to be. And when it comes times of
True.
crisis or challenge, and you knock on the door and they know who you are and they know that you're there to help them. And more inclined that they will knock on your door and ask for help.
That's true. Yes, because it's that comfort level that
Yeah.
people are very uncomfortable in saying that they need help to begin with. So if you get beyond that uncomfortable level, and it becomes part of your comfort level, and you know the people, then it's much more easy to accept the help, know that you need it, and accept it, and to give it back as well.
You know, I find that the more you're there, you know, I'm very, very proud of my son. He has a restaurant. And yet on Sunday, he said, we're closing early. It is 55 in the kitchen. And we're closed tomorrow because it's going to be even hotter. And because I have to think of my staff. And somebody commented, class act. Now, it wouldn't have been so long ago when we'll get air conditioning then, or you know. And I think what it
Yeah.
is, we've got to a point of intolerance to that negativity. We've had so much of it bombarding for so many years from so many avenues, especially the media and politically and
Yes. Yes.
societally. You know, that it is like, no, I'm sorry, we're not interested in that. And so to see a community rally around him, you know, and go, yeah, no, you've got to close, put the staff first. Right? And it
Yeah.
goes a long way, because then he's been there for them through the pandemic, and now he needs to be there for his staff. And then immediately people are there to go, what can we do to help? That's
Yeah.
how it should be, folks.
Yes, yes.
Right? Doesn't
And
matter
that's
what the age.
right. And that's creating that bond
Yeah.
of supportiveness
Yeah.
for each other. It's just reciprocal. Totally. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There is so much that we still have to give. And, you know, as I said, I've interviewed people like you, beautiful age. And, you know, one of the real common things that I see is people in their 50s, 60s who have completely walked away from a life that they've known. Maybe some of it is that cosmic 2x4, or maybe it's just like, well, that chapter is done. And they've gone into opening up businesses or starting things or doing things that their exuberance is coming out, and they feel they really have something to contribute, and it's coming from the heart, and it's coming from the desire to want to make a difference. And the more we open up to these people, the more we realize what beautiful nectar they have to share, and how much further it can take us in our lives. And it's like, no, don't shut us down. We've still got so much to give, and it ain't over until it's over. And as you said, so many of us living longer, so many people that are healthy, that, you know, let's face it, 20, 30 years ago, there was not kind of the gyms for elderly, or the swimming pools, or the this or that for them to work out in, or to stay healthy, or the nutrients, you know?
That's true. And a lot of the statistics that I uncovered in doing my research, one that really stuck out was that by the year 2030, so what's that, 9 years away, there will be more people that are 65 and older than 15 or younger.
Yeah.
And that's understandable because we're living longer and there's less births. So that's a reality. And so there's two ways that I look at it, is that what society needs to do to adjust to this longevity, and what do we need to do individually. And society really needs to start changing the model. We talked about it earlier, where it was education, marriage, family, and then retirement, and looking at that life course. An interesting work that's being done at Stanford University in California with a group called the Longevity Group, in looking at aging, and they've been studying what they're calling a new map of life, where they're really saying that we need to create a new map of life, because the one that already is in place was designed for a life that's half the age of what we are now.
Yeah,
and
obsolete.
Yes, totally. And the people that are born today, there's a 50% chance that they'll live to be over 100. So we have to start changing our models as far as the way that we have our businesses, our educational systems, and other institutions. And for us personally, we've got to change that mindset. We've got to embrace the life of decline. We have to be proud of our aging, and so many other factors. And that's just, you know, there's movements that are starting that, and that's the direction that it has to go in, with obviously a lot of the people that you're speaking with, the ones that I've spoken with, us specifically. And just society is saying, I'm not going to accept all that negativity anymore. This is the way that I want to live my life, and others should embrace that as well.
Right. There is no gold watch and out to pasture anymore.
No.
Right? Passe. My mother, when we moved to South Africa, I don't know how she did it, but she changed her age on her passport back 10 years.
Yes. Well, the long hair goes along
right.
with...
But I mean, she was a very beautiful, youthful looking woman, so she could get away with it. But she felt there was a stigma to her age.
Yeah.
Right. So, and she didn't want to be in that stigma. And of course, it meant we all had to adjust our ages, which was a little difficult for a 14-year-old. But it was a question of, I don't want to be labeled anymore that, you know, the pearls and the trees. Because when she became a widow, I was 11, and she became a widow. And it's like, well, no longer are you going to be invited to parties. You've got to do good works and take up bridge. And, you know, and basically you've died with your husband. And it was like, oh my God, you know, this is so wrong. So this is why we packed up and moved to South Africa, where a totally different woman came out of it. And also took away anything from me that, you know, I was actually a incredibly shy girl living in England, didn't go out anywhere, didn't do anything, and then thrown into South Africa, into this open, exuberant life. And it was quite a shock, but one I dived into.
Isn't it also interesting that in growing up as children, we always want to be older? And I remember saying that I
Yes.
was 8.5 or 10.5,
Mm,
and then we get to a certain age and we're an adult and we want to pull back on that age.
yeah.
Whereas I think now really we're embracing more who we are and what our age is. And as my friend says, just put the word JUST in front of it.
Yeah.
I'm just whatever
Yeah.
it is. And so be
Exactly.
it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
proud of it.
exactly.
Right.
Yes.
As I said, it's so many people who don't make it to this age, right? Or have given up, put
Yes.
themselves up to pasture. Um, I still got a zest for life, an exuberance for life, an inquiry of life. Whoops.
Absolutely. Yes.
I've lost you.
Whoops.
Um, and the important thing is that we still maintain that. And yet, no, we don't
Yes.
have to go at the same highway speed as we did before. I call myself a plodder nowadays, but it's the tortoise and the hare, right?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
quite happy to be the tortoise now. I'll get there. I'll get there, but I'll get there in my own good time,
Yeah.
right?
And I've slowed down as well. And as I alluded to that book, slowing down to the speed of life.
Yes,
And I think,
I love
I
that statement.
have, and
Yeah,
I'm much happier for it.
yes.
And yeah, it's total improvement.
But it's
So,
also we don't sweat the small stuff anymore, and just
right.
don't bother serving me that crap. I'm just not going to take it. It's like
Exactly.
we know when to close the door on it. And we're in the past where it might have been, oh, what do you mean, or how does it affect me, or and now as I say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm somebody's strong cup of black coffee. You can take me or leave me, I won't be offended. But
I'll hold you to that.
back
Yes.
then it used to be, oh, what do you mean I didn't please you? Right? And it's like, oh my God, the years of exhaustion in doing that, and it ain't going to do that anymore, right? I'm not
I,
everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay, isn't it?
it's totally fine. Yes. Yep. Totally fine. And in the process, we'll continue to incline and live meaningful, purposeful, active lifestyles.
You must have had so much joy in writing this book and hearing
Oh, I
these
do.
stories. I mean, was it a question like, well, we've got to have two books here because there's too many good stories?
Well, it was interesting that as I started, obviously reaching out to what I call my inner circle and people that I know, and then they'd say, well, you need to talk to this person and that person. And it just exponentially grew. And I really, for the over 50 people that I spoke with, there were a few that really didn't fit into the slot I was looking for, but very, very few. Most of them are included in the book at least once, if not twice. And I really found that they're living the life that I wanted to demonstrate was available. So again, they were ordinary people living extraordinary lives, and I love that expression. And for me too, it was a labor of love, because a lot of those people I knew initially, but I'd say the higher percentage of them I didn't, and yet they become friends, or at least colleagues, acquaintances that I now consider as part of my circle of friends. So it was a labor of love, and really brings me to life that I believed in, because I became so incensed with all the negative banter that I started doing the research on positive aging, and eventually realized, wow, I want to add my voice and my perspective to all of this chatter about living more positive lives. And the feedback that I've been getting is that people are feeling inspired or motivated, and that's the little nugget, the gift that I was looking for, and that's been very rewarding for me.
And it's one of those books that is timeless, right? And it's one
Correct.
of those books that is ageless.
Yes.
It can go across all age spectrums. And I think it's one of those books, I mean, I'm looking at a picture that somebody sent me, and it's of two women that are very wrinkled. And they've got beautiful big smiles on their life, like they've lived every moment of their life, and it reflects on their face. Hard times, good times, they've still got something to smile about. And we go through this phase of, oh my God, I've got a wrinkle. Oh, I've got a gray hair. I've got to hide it. Plastic surgery. Where's the collagen? And it's like, to hell with that.
Yes.
My little 88-year-old that I live with is wrinkled as hell. She's 5 foot dot. She could still karate someone at her age, and it's, chased a dog down the street the other day because it ran away, and she caught it, right? And it's just like, it doesn't matter what you look like, take care of yourself, yes. But if you've got the wrinkles, you've got the gray hair, that just reflects the life that you've lived.
It's exactly.
the
And going
inside
back
out that we
to
need.
the little rhyme that I wrote, it's, you know, it's my inner child is looking back at me, my younger self is looking back at me, and that's the essence of who you are and who you always will be, even though on the exterior, yes, you're older. I think interestingly too, just to share, my book is divided into three parts. The first part is attitude, which is looking at the internal focus. The second part is growth, or the external focus, and uh, dealing with other people, and then empowerment, which is more societal. And the AGE spells age, of course. And I saw it as a progression in going from the internal to the external and reaching that point of empowerment where you really gain confidence in yourself, and therefore you're a much happier person as a result.
Life is an inside out job. You know, we've spent so much of our life chasing the outside to try and make us happy, to realize that nothing on the outside is going to be satisfactory until you find that self-love and peace with inside.
Totally.
And then when you are there and you're at peace with yourself, you're happy within yourself, that means you're going to see things differently, you're going to interact with things differently, you're going to bring a different essence of who you are to everything that you do. And there's so many things that don't matter, and the things that really do matter, you really do feel empowered to do something about. But you know where to put your energy and where not to. And it really is a gift that you can't teach the young, because they've got to go through their life experience to get to. And really, but when you do get there, just like, thank you for this gift. Thank you for this gift.
Right. That's very true. And I think that that's the true empowerment, that you realize that it's all within you. And once you're at peace with yourself, that's exuded to the rest of the world. And that's a gift you're sharing outwardly as well.
And there's another word that really is important at any age, but I think especially when you're older, that is humor. You've got to have a laugh. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. I mean, I'm dyslexic, and I very often say things peculiarly. And my kids are always teasing me, and it's never with malice. It's always like, Mum's invented a new word again. And I'll get teased for things like that. But it's like not laughing at my expense, it's laughing with me. And it's being able to laugh. I think when you can laugh at yourself, you've lightened up. You're not taking yourself so seriously, right?
Yes.
And we've got to be able to laugh at each other. Again, not with the malice, but with that laughter, because it just gives us all permission to be. And just also laugh at life. Sometimes it's a white coat laugh. They're coming to take us away. And sometimes it's a good old belly laugh. Like, there was a posting on Facebook today, and it's Ed's 1 minute acupuncture. And the guy's lying on the bed, and the guy's got a hedgehog to come down. And you just couldn't help but laugh at it, because I've had acupuncture and I know what it feels like, and I can anticipate what that hedgehog would feel like. And it's like, laugh. And one of the good ways of learning to laugh, look at children play. Look at puppy dogs chasing their tail, the stick, a ball. Look at nature and how beautiful it is. It always get you out of yourself and give you something to smile at.
Because it's all spontaneous. There's no forethought given to it. It's just there. And I look at laughter as a strong elixir, as far as a magical potion at times as well, that just lightens up your whole being rather than being so serious. And especially being able to laugh at yourself. I know over the years it's difficult sometimes, because you have this impression of who you are, and, well, I'm not going to be silly this way or that. But when you can finally lighten up and just laugh at yourself, again, it's so liberating just to laugh.
Yeah. There's always something to laugh at. And it's so healthy for you. It gets rid of certain things in your body. A good belly laugh is just something that, I mean, that's the reason why things like the Golden Girls and everything did so well. The kind of the humor they had, it was relatable. The beautiful one-liners that they had, they kind of punched you in the stomach with laughter, and you just couldn't help but laugh with it. And afterwards, when you finish watching it, that was a good laugh. and you feel so much better.
Yes, it just lightens your spirit, I
Yes,
think. Yes.
exactly. So
Yeah.
we've been through some heavy times in this last few years. And yes, we're coming out of it and there's still a lot of recovery. This is the time for us to show kindness and caring and consideration and compassion. But it's also a time to look at how we can bring joy back to ourselves and look to how we can bring back the laughter, because that's going to be the healing method for all of us, despite the age.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree with you totally. Yes.
So what's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, I've been working on a little project that will be a companion for inclined elders, how to rebrand aging for self and society. I'm going to do a little book of poems,
Ooh.
and my working title thus far is Musings on a Life of Incline. So reflections on a life of incline. And there will be some parallel with the book, but I don't want it to just duplicate the book. But I think it will be a nice little companion piece to share some of my personal incline moments, because in the book, of course, I've shared mostly the inclined elders I've interviewed, although there's a lot of me that's in the book as well. So that's my next project for now, in addition to all of the other plates I've got turning in the air, because I do keep pretty busy. But it's nice being able to get back into socializing with friends and family. And I'm looking forward to, it'll probably have to wait until December, but every year for the past 10 years, I've done 2 trips to Canada to visit family, August and December. And August is looking a little hedgy because Canada still has the border locked down.
I think it's meant to be lifted in July.
July is what I hear, yes. But that will be nice to be able to visit, because of course we've kept in touch, but it's not the three-dimensional seeing each other and having the hugs, which I've missed. But getting back out and being with people three-dimensionally has been wonderful. So that's been great.
What's this Launchpad? The
Launchpad Job Club is a local job search group that supports people in career transition. And there are several actually in Austin. There's another one that I've worked with called the Career Development Network. And I have, because of my background, doing a lot of career coaching work with people in transition, I know a lot of people in that genre. And I've been asked by a couple of them at this point to do a presentation, and it's a PowerPoint presentation, which you've done via Zoom. And of course, the presentation I've entitled Aging with an Attitude of Incline. And it covers a lot of the things that we've talked about that are included in the book. And again, has been very well received in giving people, especially older adults in career transition, the realization that it's not over,
Right.
And I can still, all the things that we've been talking about. So that's been very rewarding to present to those types of groups.
A question. I know that so many older people, kind of never believe that their story would have an impact in anyone. It's like, oh, who would want to know my story? It's because they don't realize the impact their story could have. And you're not talking about people that have had, extreme this or that. It's just the living and how they're living today. Did you find it hard with any of the people to understand the impact of their story shared?
No, I didn't really. Most of them did have stories. As I say, a couple didn't fit in with where I was going, how I'd set up the book. But just simple things, again, such as I touch on gratitude and resilience and some other human traits within the book. And the resilience piece, a perfect example of that was one of my friends, introduced by one of my friends, actually, Nancy, who at a later age in life, and she'd done all the right things. She was continuing to live a meaningful life. She was involved with her community and doing a lot of wonderful things. And she was diagnosed with cancer, very serious cancer. And yet she decided that she was going to get through it, and just worked with her community, with her church, continued her job, and with her therapy, she did get through it. And it showed in her ability to bounce back and be resilient, even having faced something that was, well, life-threatening, really. Yeah. Another story, which I just love, is one about Betty and the Crystal Bowl, I call. She and her husband were living in New Orleans at the time of Katrina. And that happened so quickly that they literally had to just throw a few things in a bag and leave. But meanwhile, she'd recently purchased a Waterford crystal bowl that was displayed on her dining room table, but of course she couldn't take that. And they made it to safety, along with millions of others that had left the area. And weeks later, when they returned to their home and they were slopping through all the oil-soaked debris, and she couldn't believe her eyes when she looked over, and on her dining room table, she saw her crystal bowl that had been weighted down with the flood waters and was still intact.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was a matter of thinking, this crystal bowl came through with tenacity and was still intact, and so was Betty and her husband.
Yes.
And we had quite a discussion about that. And to me, that was such a great story for gratitude.
Mm.
And she has always been so grateful for things that have happened in her life, good and bad. And she's one of the happiest people I've ever known. So it's the little stories like that I find very touching. They're simple stories, and yet there's a lesson to be drawn from them. And those are just a couple of examples.
I mean, it goes to the priority, isn't it? I mean, everybody has a woe is me story. Nobody gets through life without something happening to them. And,
Right.
you know, all of our emotions are coming to us as an indication of how we're feeling at the time, or a reaction to something. The thing that we should not get caught up in is the becoming emotional about our emotions, because then we get stuck. And,
Yes.
you know, I haven't got time to get stuck. There's always too much life to do, you know, or commitment to do. And I think if, you know, one of the things about our elders, because of what they've had to go through in life, and especially our extreme elders that went through the war as well, is the fact that the most important thing is, I'm alive. We're alive. We can start again. You know, is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be harder this time? Yes, but where does the gratitude really lie? Where is the importance? And that resilience is one that, for a lot of people that are going through things, and it's like, really, in the scheme of things, is it important?
Exactly. And I think it alludes back to what we were talking about, and people allowing themselves to go down that rabbit hole for whatever reason. And you have to be able to step back and really be grateful for what you have. There's an expression that I'm trying to think of his name, Meister Eckhart, who's a 13th century theologian, who summed the expression up that if the only word you ever say in your entire life is thank you, that'll be enough, because that is expressing gratitude. And there's so much that is encompassed in that. And it's true. I mean, studies have been done with respect to gratitude, showing that the more grateful you are in your life, your aging process slows, you're happier. I mean, there's so many positive things that come out of it that it's just, it's the way to go. I've known so many people that are what I call negative Nellies, and they just always woe is me, and you know, the
violent drama,
half empty, and they're miserable. And it's like they're walking around with this cloud of doom and gloom around their heads, and like Pigpen in one of the comics we had years ago. And I don't want them in my orbit. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Because because
who you put yourself around is really, really important. Very.
Totally.
I call it the Fox News event. They take a pimple and make it into a volcanic eruption, because his hysteria and fear sells, and it stirs people up, and it gets them negatively engaged. But you cannot sustain that negativity without paying a price. And that means the price is your health, your well-beingness. So,
so true.
And that's the game that we learn as we get older, is be more discerning of who we're with. Right?
And I think too, not only the people that we're with, which I totally agree, but also the activities that you get involved with. I've always tried to be very selective as to the things that I get involved with, but too many people are it's difficult for them to say no, and they get so caught up in doing so many things and just drain themselves of energy. And you have to realize at some point, okay, this is not serving what my goal is or what I want to do. So I'm going to have to say no, not this particular one, and yes to this one. And again, surrounding yourself with people that has the same positive mindset and attitude, and you just drive a nice little stream going down the road, being positive and happy, and leaving the other ones in the dust.
Because those other ones always have an agenda, and it's to take advantage of you. And believe me, I was there. I was that person that couldn't say no. and I
Yeah.
had to learn it the hard way. And now
Yeah.
I can say no without guilt,
Yes.
and that again I think is going back to, and a lot of the things I talk about when we're talking about elderly people. So many people on their self-discovery is they needed permission from other people to make that
So
discovery.
true. So
And
true.
I say the only permission you need is from yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. Amen. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Uh, Again, it's taking responsibility for your own self and not requiring other people to make
Right.
decisions for you or kowtowing to other people in whatever regard. It's you that has to be responsible and accountable and make those decisions.
Yeah.
And you're happier as a result because you're in more control of your
Yes.
own life. Yeah.
Unapologetically.
So true. Yes.
Oh, I'm very glad you've written this book, because it is something, again, that is,
Thank you, Sarah.
it's timeless, it's ageless. It's one of those things that you can have in the house and even just open up to a particular page and read. And I'm a big one to just opening up a page. What do I need to know? And there's a chapter there or a page there. And it could even be one of those things that you have in there. Okay, family, what do we need to know? What's the lesson today? Open the book. And it will always correlate. That wisdom that comes out of the book is always answering something that's needed to be known at that time. So it's a wonderful book to have as a family book.
Thank you. I like that aspect of it. And the way that I set it up was just, as you said, that really as a workbook that could be treated as a read from beginning to end, or just delve into whatever topic appeal to you. And then at the end of each chapter, I have personal reflections. So to have some questions regarding that chapter that you can reflect on for yourself. And then there's a whole section at the end on resources as well. So it's got a little bit for everyone. And as you say, it is timeless, because all of these aspects of our life, they are timeless.
I'm a huge advocate of book clubs and podcast clubs.
Yes.
Because, I think when you listen to something together or read something together, and then each one of you then share what you got out of it, what your perspective is, it opens up a whole gamut of, oh, I didn't see it that way. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, that's a revelation. And, going away then with this wonderful sphere of wisdom. Whereas just, listening on your own is great, but then who do you have to talk to about it? So, share the book. Have a book club, whether it's the family book club, or your bunch of friends, a bunch of people in your elders. Have we found these obstacles? What do you think of this? Has it changed your mind of how you're going to approach life? Share.
Yeah, and again, as you say, you can read something and you can get something out of it, but it's that community, the sense of community, that you're sharing your ideas with other people, and will make you think of something that you had no idea of before. I was doing different Zoom groups for a while, but now with things opening up, I've been invited to do the in-person, which will be a lot of fun to do, to share those. So I'm looking forward to it. I've got a few in the fall lined up, and I've really enjoyed the podcast. I've done several, and everyone has its own flavor. It's not a repetitive rote script type thing, all from a different perspective, but the topic has been the same. So I've enjoyed doing that, and I've especially enjoyed our conversation. It's just as you said, a very open conversation, a nice chat between two people that are very receptive to the positivity of aging.
And people eavesdropping on us.
Yes.
So how do people get hold of you, and how do people get hold of the book, and just social medias as well, though?
Absolutely. Well, I do have a website. It is my full name. So it is www.Ramona, Ramona, middle initials VM for Vera Marie, Oliver.com. And that will share a little bit more about who I am, what the book's about, and there are options for purchasing the book. Obviously, it's available through Amazon, and there's a link on the website. It's also available through my self-publishing book partner, which is BookBaby, and I offer a 25% discount in ordering it through BookBaby. You can also reach out to me. There's an area where you can connect with me on the website, so that's the most direct way to connect with me, and I'd love to hear from people and hear your thoughts and your feedback.
I mean, that's the point. Just like, when I do public speaking, I like to, state my thing, but I like the interaction, ask the questions, because now, you know, you've said such and such, and now it's how they've received it, and it opens up, you know, the whole minds, hearts, and souls of people. And so
Right.
feedback is important. So please, folks, do reach out, because in sharing, you know, what the book meant to you, or maybe a particular passage, or maybe it's had you look at your own elders in your community or in your family differently, you know, that
Yes.
is impactful for someone else. So please do
Totally.
share.
Yes, yes, I'd appreciate that very much. And I will be, well, I'm doing updates on a regular basis to keep people advised of what I'm doing with the book. I actually have a very interesting, here in Texas, there's a group called the Lone Star Literary Lifestyle, and they do what they call blog book tours. And I'm actually on one in July where your book is promoted in various ways over a period of time. And I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So it's a way of just getting my book and what I'm putting out into the universe out there. And it's all fun, and it's inspirational, and I'm getting so much back from it as well. So I'm sharing, but it's coming back to me in various ways too. Yeah.
The 9 years of doing these podcasts have been the greatest therapy and liberation for me. I've learned so much from people like yourself. And, you know, that's the thing. Be willing to be engaged. You know, be willing to listen. I mean, I always say that the information is out there. You've just got to be prepared to look for it and take the time. You know, I call it the Orchard of Wisdom Library, you know, ready for clicking. And it's take the time like you would in a library. What stands out at you, and click on it. And it's the same with the book. I go into a bookstore, I walk up and down those books, and the book jumps out and says, "Here, you need to read me." You know, and as I said, your book is timeless. It's very educational. I can actually think it would probably be really, really good in schools or community centers or after school type places where our youth could really do with learning to listen to this. And you know, let's face it, there's a lot of leaders out there today. You know, Biden isn't young, still extremely productive. And it's like, don't write people off because of their age, please.
Exactly, as we've been saying, that it's not about age, but and it's timeless, but also it crosses age segments. Which is one of the things that I did want to put forth in the book. So younger people, bringing that together so that we're serving as role models for future generations, and yet younger people are serving as role models for generations to come beyond them. So it's
good and bad. Nobody gets to where they are at 70, 80 without experience, you know, and there are some experiences that we wish we could erase altogether, but they were what the experiences were at the time. Forgiveness is a great deal one needs to have in life, because you're making decisions at the time based on what's going on, and you wished afterwards you hadn't. But that is life. And I think this is such a brilliant, insightful, illuminant, and empowerment to others who are on their journey of life. Because, you know, we don't want you to go down the Grand Canyon. You're going to have potholes along the way, but we don't want you to go down the Grand Canyon. You know, it's a long way to climb back up.
And I've done that. I haven't gone to the bottom, but I have gone down far enough to know that you need to only go as far as you can handle, because you've got to turn around and come back up afterwards.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes we do have those struggles in life, and we learn a great deal from them. But what we're saying is that we're giving you a shortcut here, folks, with all the education and knowledge you could have, and the wisdom that you could have that can help you prevent some of those deep falls that you would otherwise take, right?
Most definitely, yes. Thank you for summing it up that way, Sarah. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's been an absolute delight. I do recommend that people, teachers and community centers, and even, you know, retirement homes, having the book in there, because, you know, then it opens up conversation amongst them all. You know, what's your story? The whole thing is it's insightful to ask other people what's their story and what they've learned from it.
That was part of my plan early on when I was writing it, but of course with the shutdown, you know, it was literally locked down. So that I'm going to resurrect that idea again, because I think it would be very, very timely and provide the stories and a little bit of encouragement and entertainment for you as well for people. Yeah.
You know, back to that relationship, you know, conversation, you know, creates relationships. So when people are engaged to have a conversation with someone, they can build relationships from that. And this is a bridger of that gap, which is wonderful. So
It totally
so
is.
if you do a book too, and we're certain when you've got your poems, please come back and share with us, because it'd be absolutely
Thank you.
delightful to share your next chapter.
I will. Well, I've loved our conversation. It's been just I didn't have a cup of tea in front of me, but it's like having a conversation over a cup of tea.
Exactly.
And it's been very enjoyable. So thank you very much for having me as a guest on your show.
My pleasure. And folks, this is a book that really could be in every family. It's one that you can pick up from time to time, open up a page, or say to the kids, go and read a chapter and come back and tell me what you think on it. It's about engagement. It's not a pick up, put down, and forget about. It's a pick up, learn even one piece of it, and go, okay, what's the question back on me? How can I share it? How can I communicate with others on it? Because that's what it's about. Please learn from your elders. And elders, it's not over until it's over. When the vessel dies, the spirit still goes on. So just live life exuberantly right to the last moment, because that's what you're here for.
Right.
So,
continue to live life as an incliner and incline. Yes.
There's another mountain to climb, and forget about your arthritis. It's got nothing to do with that. It's that just climb that mountain of inquisitiveness and of wonderment and of joy, because you never know what's on the other side, and you're never going to know until you're willing to climb that mountain. So
that's correct. Well, thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you very much. So folks, please do not look at your elders as a waste of time or a burden on society. They've paved the way for you. You wouldn't have your cell phones or Zoom or computers without people that have gone before. A little gratitude, and certainly a lot more of inquisitiveness of what brought them to where they are today and what you can learn from it. And for all our elders out there, please get up and dance. Life is a beautiful song, and it's ready for you to just get going. So until next time, bye for now.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.